So welcome everybody to this latest Key Stage 3 or GCSE video on 162 Maths, and in this video we'll be continuing with simultaneous equations with a focus on being able to solve simultaneous equations graphically. Now, one of the main purposes of being able to solve equations simultaneously is that it allows us to find the intersection or the meeting points of equations when plotted. Now, though this method is not as time efficient or as accurate as solving simultaneous equations algebraically, it is a method that is requested in exams, especially when an earlier part of the question is to plot an equation or the equations have already been plotted on a set of axes for you. Now, the method to solve simultaneous equations graphically can be done by following these three steps. Now, some of them may be already done for you as part of the question, but again, this is just starting from scratch. These are the three things that I would do first. Now, the first thing you want to do is to draw and complete a table of values and or find coordinates based on the equations that you've been given. Now, if you're not sure how to plot a straight line graph or a quadratic curve, then there are videos that allow you to do this, and I will include links in the description that allow you to find these if you're not too sure. Alternatively, what you can do is pick three values of x and y, whichever is easier. Substitute these values into the equation to find the corresponding values of the other variables, either x or y. Then once you've got the three coordinates, is to plot the coordinates and then draw the line or connect all the dots together. And then the answer is the coordinate of where the lines or curve intersect and meet. Now, it's really important that you make sure that, unlike with simultaneous equations when you solve them algebraically, where you've got an x value and a y value, that you write your answer as a coordinate, because obviously that's what the question is asking you. It's asking where the lines or the curves intersect or meet and at what coordinate. So let's have a look at an example. Now, this first one, it says use the graph to solve. Now, typically in an exam, if this was given to you in a question, you'd get probably maybe 2 marks, maybe even 1 mark. 1 mark for each, basically each ordinate that you've worked out correctly. Now, in terms of this, now, as you can see on the graph, that x plus y equals 10 is my red line, and y minus 2x equals 1 is my blue line. So what I'm looking for in this particular question is where the red line and the blue line meet. Now, they meet at this point here. So that there is going to be my answer for part A. So that coordinate is 3, 7. So the answer to this particular question is 3, 7. Now for B, it's 2x plus 5y equals 17, and that line is the purple line. And obviously, y minus 2x equals 1 is the blue line. So what I'm looking for in part B is where does the purple line intersect with the blue line, and that is at this point here, which I'm just going to mark as B, and that as a coordinate is 1, 3. And then finally for part C, it's x plus y equals 10, which is my red line, and 2x plus 5y equals 17, which is my purple line. So again, what I'm looking for is where the red line and the purple line intersect, and that is at this point here, and that point there is 11 minus 1. So 11 minus 1, and there are my final answers. So moving on to example 2, this question, what we're going to do is going to go right from basics and go from the core essence of the question and then show you how we can do this and solve this graphically. So question 2 says solve graphically x plus y equals 6 and 2x plus y equals 10, and it's recommended that we draw axes of x and y to 0 to 8. So the first thing we want to do is draw our table of values. So let me just put #1 and table of values. So here what we've got is we've got x plus y equals 6. Now what I want to try and do is find, now although when it comes to plotting coordinates and plotting lines you only need 2 coordinates to plot a straight line, which both of these two are because we've got a single x and a single y. There's no curves involved in this particular question, so technically all I need is 2 coordinates, but just to make things easier for me and more accurate and more sort of error safe, I'm going to do 3 coordinates. So what we're going to do is going to draw a table of values of this. So I've got x and I've got y. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick 3 small values and nice whole numbers of x. I'm going to go for 0, 1 and 2. So here when x equals 0, I'm going to end up with 0 plus y equals 6. So therefore y must equal 6. Then when x equals 1, I've got 1 plus y equals 6. So y equals 5. And then here I've got 2 plus y equals 6. so y must equal 4. So my coordinates for this are going to be 0, 6, 1, 5, and 2, 4. Then using, let's go for our second equation, so I've got 2x plus y equals 8. So looking at this, I pick my two small values, so let's go for 0, 1, and 2. So again, when x equals 0, I'm going to end up with 0 plus y equals 8, so y is going to equal 8. When x equals 1, I'm going to end up with 2 plus y equals 8, so y equals 6. And then when x equals 2, then it's going to be 4 plus y equals 8, so y equals 4. So the coordinates for this are going to be 0, 8, 1, 6, and 2, 4. And so what I'm now going to do is I'm going to plot these coordinates and draw those respective lines and then see where those two lines intersect. Now by plotting those points, and let me just show you what I have plotted. So for the first one we've got 0, 6, which is here. I've plotted that point there and that point there. And then for the second equation, I've got this point here, and that point there. Then just join the lines up and I've got my two lines. Now here, as you can see, the answer is where those two lines intersect. And those two lines intersect at this coordinate here. And what's the answer for that? Well, that's going to be 2, 4. So the answer to this particular question is going to be 2, 4. Now in an exam, if you did write x equals 2 and y equals 4, you may still get some marks for it, but like I said, because this question refers to a graph and lines, you want to make sure that you're writing your answer as a coordinate. So now let's have a look at our third question. So again, very, very similar to our second question, and here we want to be asked to draw axes from x and y from 0 to 9. So looking at the first equation, so we just write number 1 here. So for number 1, we've got x plus 2y equals 8. So again, I'm going to draw my table of values. Now you can use the table function on your calculator to do the table of values, 1, 0, 1, 2. And then I just want to substitute the numbers in. So here when x equals 0, I'm going to end up with 0 plus 2y equals 8. So y is going to equal 4. When x equals 1, I end up with y equals 7 over 2, so 3.5. And when x equals 2, I'm going to end up with 2 plus 2y equals 8. So y is going to equal 3. And then looking at a second equation, so here I've got 3x plus y equals 9. So again, picking relatively small numbers, 1, 2, and here's my y. So when x equals 0, y is going to equal 9. When x equals 1, it's going to be 3 plus y, which equals 9, which equals 6. And when x equals 2, that's going to be 6, and y is going to be 3. So looking at these in terms of the coordinates, I've got 0, 4, 1, 3.5, and 2, 3. Now, if you're not so great or not confident with plotting decimal numbers, then what I would do is kind of sack the second coordinate and just go for those two and plot those two and then join it using a ruler with a straight line. Then with the second equation, my coordinates are nice whole numbers, so I've got plot 0, 9, 1, 6, and 2, 3. So again, if you plot those coordinates correctly and join them up with a straight line, you should end up with something that looks like this. So from here, we can see that where do those two lines intersect? Well, they intersect at this point here. And what is that coordinate? Well, that there is going to be 2, 3. So that there is my answer. Now looking at our extension question, this is where we've got one straight line or one linear line equation and one non-linear, which is therefore either going to be a parabola, cubic, or anything of that note. So in this question, we've got to solve the equations all simultaneously of y equals 2x plus 2 and y equals x squared minus 1. We've been asked to do it graphically, so what we need to do is plot these two coordinates. So again, we need a table of values. So this one is going to be our straight line. So let's just write straight line. And you won't get any marks for saying it's a straight line, it's just one thing I notice. And this is going to be a parabola, or in other words, going to be a U-shaped curve. So starting off with y equals 2x plus 2, so with y equals 2x plus 2. So again, I'm going to do my table of values to plot that correctly. And again, I'm going to pick three small numbers, 0, 1, and 2. So working through this, when x equals 0, y is going to equal 2. When x equals 1, I'm going to end up with 2 plus 2, which is 4. And when x is 2, I'm going to end up with 4 plus 2, which is 6. So my coordinates there are 0, 2, 1, 4, and 2, 6. Now when it comes to plotting quadratics, what you need to do here is have a range of values. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from -3, so let's have x. So I'm going to have -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. And I think that should be enough. Now typically in the exam they'll tell you what ranges of x values they want, and it's just a case of substituting in. So here we've got -3 squared is 9, take away 1 is 8. -2 squared is 4, take away 1 is 3. -1 squared is 1, take away 1 is 0. 0 squared is 0, -1 is -1. And 1 squared is 1, take away -1 is 0. And then 2 squared is 4, take away 1 is 3. And 3 times 3 is 9, take away 1 is 8. So here are my coordinates. So I want to plot -3, 8, -2, 3, -1, 0, 0, -1, 1, 0, 2, 3, and 3, 8. Now in terms of the ranges of what I'm going to be doing with this, now you can see that my largest x value is good. Well, our biggest x values are going to be -3 to 3, and looking at the range of y values, I'm going to be going all the way from -1 to +8 is my biggest numbers. So let's go about plotting these two equations. Now plotting these two, as you can see that my quadratic is the blue curve and the straight line is the red line. Now again here we're going to have, you can see that the red line and the blue curve intersect at 2 points, which therefore means I'm going to end up with 2 answers. So the first coordinate, it doesn't really matter what order you do your coordinates, so the first one is this one, and that coordinate is 3, 8. And the second coordinate, which is this one here, which is -1, 0. So the answer to this particular question, so the final answer, is going to be -1, 0, and 3, 8. And there is my final answer for that.